Welcome to the First, the Last, the Nerdom, where we dive into the world of pop culture and cinema. This week, we're taking a nostalgic journey to explore the 1999 animated gem, The Iron Giant. Join us as we discuss the film's timeless story, unforgettable characters, and the impact it's had on fans and filmmakers alike. Whether you're a longtime fan or a newcomer, get ready for an insightful and fun conversation about this beloved classic. Let's get into it. How you doing, Tom?
Deja vu. Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Go ahead.
Hey, Mike. Yeah. No, no. Yeah, we kind of skipped a week here, but we're back, louder and prouder than ever.
We did. We obviously had to. We had the break shake off there because I had technical difficulties, and we got about 7 minutes into the show,
Yeah.
and I didn't have your audio wasn't coming through the way that I was looking for, and then I had to cut it, and then here we are back. But I'm ML.
Hmm.
Tom joins me. We are we're doing this little thing called the First, Last, the Nerdom. Without further ado, let me
Hmm.
hop into our bona fides, and then we can get into a little bit of the background and why that we picked this movie this week, as well as some other really cool things. So this one was very cool, but I'll put that one on pause. We'll come back to it. But we are the First Last Nerdom, our primary way that you can see us, hear us, and join us, as we hope you would, as our images are flying pictures are flying through the air to you, the viewer. We do appreciate it. We do that. We're cutting through 215 videos. This will be 216, something like that. We like to cover a lot of, like, sci-fi is my thing. Tom brings horror. We'll meet in the middle at for horror or for another kind of movie or this or that. Really anything that has a substantial following, and really just
Hmm.
sticks
And
with
we're
you.
both, yeah, yeah, we're both into comic books, and
Yes, that's
we've
true.
been delving into fantasy a lot lately. But yeah, we like Mike was saying, the first run through. We were kind of saving all the big hits for once we got some videos under our belt. We wanted to be able to spotlight them in a good way, and
Hmm.
we're kind of getting there. So we're
Absolutely.
starting to kind of inch our way in, with the classics, and we've you never know when a video will hit. Like Outland did really well, and for us anyway, and it's one of those movies that I don't know if anybody's ever heard of. Same way with Flesh and Blood, but yeah, and then like our bigger ones like Lost Boys, it did okay, but didn't do as well as Outland. So yeah, it's always kind of interesting to see what hits with our audience.
Yeah. Little sound effect there. With that being
Uh-huh.
said, this is the Tom heads up our social media bona fides there
Hmm.
over on Reddit. You can find him, and he typically will drop the most latest version, whether he does something or I do something. We always try to make sure we put it out there on in the Reddit universe. You can find him at the First Last Nerdom. He's also on X
Hmm.
as the First, the Last Nerdom at McAllister underscore T. I also have a little publication that I like to do, which we kind of do crossover sometimes, but for the most part, this is the heavier side of life, more opinionated, much more in the weeds with current events or things that I find that I like to talk about. Also available on X as well, ApeIt underscore Ink. And with that being said, now you were telling me on the roll up to this that you got to watch. You weren't quite sure which version I got to watch, but you it sounds like you got
Hmm.
to watch the best version. What version was that?
Yeah,
And yeah.
yeah, it's the what Warner Brothers calls the signature edition. This is the Blu-ray. It comes with the original version and the signature. Evidently, I think in 2016 they were able to pull out some of the old footage, the old and also and make it make put back in a couple of deleted scenes into it. There's two that they put back into this edition. It's one where the mother and the beatnik talk a little bit. It's about 30 minutes into the movie, I think. where they have a little moment there in the diner and kind of developing the relationship. So not, not a big thing to have been excised, but it kind of develops the relationship a little bit. And then the bigger scene is later on, after the Iron Giant starts to realize what's going on with himself, that he might potentially be a weapon. He has this nightmare out in the junkyard, and he sees visions of what maybe was his past with other Iron Giants, and it's so traumatic that his brain waves are affecting the televisions out there and screwing up the John Parr show. And but yeah, it's it's a very nice, a very nice little scene there. So yeah, if you could get a hold of that copy, that'd be kind of cool. But yeah, it's one of those movies that I kept hearing about, saying that it's a classic animated movie, and I kind of skipped over the first time it came out because I was very much against American animation at that point. I was more into Japanese animation, the anime out there.
Sure.
But yeah, so yeah, everything American I immediately associated with Disney, and to me, I was kind of ahead of the curve. I thought of Disney as this, this monster of a company that was focused on money and kind of wore the clothes of family values just to kind of steamroll its way through. Yeah, and so yeah, I was and then I wasn't into like the musical Disney crap that was coming out. It was kind of a little too clean for me. So all the other animation kind of just seemed like they were trying to ape the Disney kind of thing. So and on the surface, this movie kind of looks like maybe that. But I was if I was into any type of American animation, it was definitely on the small screen on TV. Like I was a big fan in the 90s of course, The Simpsons and the Ren and Stimpy and different things like that.
Yeah, I think I come across
South Park's a big one.
No, I hear you. I can't really say much on the Japanese side because I didn't see any of that stuff until I was early 20s, maybe at best. When I was probably 18 or 19, like there was a couple of dudes that I knew that would play it on, and if you're hanging out with your buds, you would just kind of watch it. And I never got the name of it, which I regret, but yeah, same here. Although I did not see this when it came out. This is the first time that we saw it, and like you mentioned, we took a break and we came back, so I actually got a chance to rewatch a few extra parts of it, and it holds up very well. I like there's so many aspects of it that are inviting. I get first off, I guess kind of back up here to kind of set the scene here. It takes place in like the late 1950s, like a very small town, Rockwell, Maine, but a small town, American, a very small aspect. You have this thing that comes from space. So you check that box, which is cool. And then Hogarth is the main. Hogarth Hughes is the main, the little boy that finds this this thing. And like you were saying, it kind of finds itself kind of landed on its head wrong. Not really, but it lost its something happened to it catastrophically, and it scrambled its circuits essentially to like where it forgets what its purpose is. So it kind of wakes up like instead of thinking it's a war tank mech unit full of nothing but death and destruction, it is in fact it sees itself as a little boy, essentially, kind of like where it kind of sees
sort of it finds this boy saves him, and he sort of kind of adopts the boy, and sort of they adopt each other, and they kind of learn and grow together, and form a kind of a lasting bond. Yeah, and I was kind of happy that we took a break too, because I was able to delve into a lot of the extras on here.
Okay.
There's a ton of extras. There's several documentaries. There's a hour-long documentary about the making of it, and then there's also a commentary track. I've been getting more and more into the commentary tracks as we
No.
do our show.
Now, Tom, real quick, what version of that here? I'm going to try to pull it up here on the background while you talk about it. I'm going to pull it up on the other screen.
It's
but it's the premiere edition or something like that.
It's the signature edition.
Okay, that's right. Signature edition.
The signature. Yeah, and you can get it pretty cheap. At least I did back a few years ago. The Blu-ray. I don't know if it's out on 4K or not. But yeah, those are kind of, and but yeah, so and I think the signature series, I think it came out in 2016. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So it was they had a trailer for it in 2015. So yeah, it sounds about right. 2016 it came out. Yeah, there's a cool one of the coolest extras in here is to get the footage or at least the drawings to redo it. They actually, there's a salt mine out in the desert that a lot of companies store things, and Warner Brothers has this huge storage thing down
film vault
600 feet. Yeah, well, it's 600 feet underground, and it's a film vault, but it's actually a functioning salt mine where after you mine the salt, there's a bunch of areas that are empty. Perfect place to store things. But yeah, it was so cool seeing one of the filmmakers of Iron Giant go down there and kind of go through the mines and kind of dig through all the stuff. Very, very cool. I don't know if that's anywhere on YouTube or not, but yeah, worth checking out. Yeah, and another thing that was kind of interesting is this movie has sort of kind of ties to the previous movie we talked about, The Crow. The Crow was based off of another property, which was the comic book. And the comic book was based off of James O'Barr was inspired to write it because is one of our live shows. He did it because his wife or his fiance was tragically killed in a car accident, and it inspired the comic book, inspired the movie. Whereas in this the Iron Giant is based off of a children's book called The Iron Man, written by Ted Hughes, whose wife was Sylvia Plath, who she committed suicide. And to kind of deal with her suicide and also to kind of help his children, he wrote this children's book, The Iron Man, which, is kind of about kind of overcoming, disaster,
right.
And kind of, getting blown up, but being able to pull yourself to get back together again. So yeah, it's based off of that book. And also in watching the documentary on the making of it, they talk a lot about the maker of the movie, Brad Bird, and his wife, not his wife, but his one of his sisters, a few years before they made the movie, got killed by gun violence. And so it kind of had an impact on making the movie. So it's one of those things where, it's, these different tragedies could really inspire this, huge bit of, classic art, whether it be book, movie. But yeah, and like The Crow was kind of a dark movie about healing. The Iron Giant's about, very much of a child, like hopeful kind of thing about overcoming and.
Well, no, there's a lot of innocence in this movie. As you encounter it, you have very tender moments between Hogarth and him and the Giant, because the Giant is essentially rebooting from a fresh state and not knowing, and it's a very unique kind of way to plug in this massive Iron Giant and this little tiny. I mean, it's perfect opposites there. But what was the theme that you would chalk that up to that you were just talking about a moment ago?
Yeah, it's like well, this movie is sort of very optimistic in saying, even though you're a gun, basically you're a weapon. You don't have to be a weapon. You could be whatever you want to be.
Right.
You have a choice, and in the fact that you can make that choice, maybe you do have a soul. Maybe there's something more to you that you can aspire to be. And and this it's I like the movie.
One's identity and one's destiny, and choosing those two aspects.
Yeah, exactly. You can choose what you want to be. It doesn't have to be forced upon you. And the fact that that grief and tragedy can inspire such various, from The Crow to The Iron Giant, to be hopeful. This movie, like you said, is very much of a childlike innocence, but it also Brad Bird makes a point of saying, this is PG. We're not Disney. We're not G. So there is some a little kind of rougher edges to the movie, but I think that's obviously to its benefit. Like Hogarth himself, the main boy in this movie, he's not that cardboard cutout of the average small boy that's usually in these movies that are kind of maybe not perfect, but very kind of cardboard cutout, whereas he's kind of maybe a little bit taller with longer legs and has big ears and kind of a chipped tooth. He's just your average kid,
he kind of
with a little bit of attitude.
A lovable little outlier of a kiddo, who maybe starts from a different starting square than perhaps his classmates. I mean, we're kind of reading into all of this, but it's not hard to, and that's one of the beautiful things. Also, the voice performances. You had Harry Connick Jr., you had Vin Diesel, Jennifer Aniston, Christopher McDonald. Also should not be taken for granted at all in this film.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. No. Please go ahead.
When I was watching it, I didn't look at who the voices were, and I couldn't remember. And when the beatnik came on and kept hearing that guy's voice, I was like, who the hell is that? I was like, is that one of the guys from the Friends? I kept thinking Friends, and then I was like, no, it's not that. And I finally looked, and it was Henry Connick Jr. I was like, oh yeah, he was an actor for a little while there, and and I was shocked. I was like, oh, Jennifer Aniston. That's where I was getting the Friends thing from. I was hearing her voice, I'm thinking, getting the Friends vibe. But Vin Diesel. I guess this is one of his first voice acting things. He's famously Groot. He did a great job as the Iron Giant here. I think
he did.
He probably gets a lot of slack for his performance in Guardians of the Galaxy as Groot. He only has to say one word, but you kind of have to kind of give the word different or I am Groot. You have to kind of enunciate that differently. I think you kind of learned some things from this movie, The Iron Giant, where he didn't have a whole lot of dialogue in this either, but there was a lot of emotion that he was able to convey with this role.
Well, I think he's an underappreciated actor, and I say that because he started out I'm trying to find a really, really good movie from like way early in his career before he made it big. Before, of course, he did Pitch Black, and he did the Riddick. He did the famous Riddick character, which was very good. Iron Giant. Okay, so this was, but he did. I want to say it was like a court movie. It was. I'll have to find it here.
That multifacial movie is the movie that got them to hiring for Iron Giant. Evidently, he doesn't do a whole lot of. It's a short film, looks like. But yeah, he does it I guess he doesn't have a lot of dialogue in that, and so he has to do a lot of it through vocalization. So that kind of inspired them to get him for the Iron Giant. Another cool thing about the Blu-ray is a lot of the promotional stuff uh, that was put on television. There was a little 30-minute or 20-minute little promo thing for it that Vin Diesel host that was on the WB. It was kind of a WB special about the upcoming movie. And Vin Diesel looks so young. It was just kind of, well, because he was young. It was 99, and seeing him there was kind of a shock seeing such a young Vin Diesel. Sure, yeah, he was buff, but he's not the buff self that he is today.
well, the fact that he did Iron Giant so many years, I'm struggling here to find the. I think it's Find Me Guilty is what I was looking for here. I had a Find Me Guilty, but anyway, it's like it doesn't quite land. Yeah, this is it. That's the movie. It doesn't quite land, but it really does. He takes this seriously. This isn't a movie that, like, I mean, it's good enough or whatever. I doubt we'll ever rotate back to it, but it's kind of like a little kind of a gem. If you like Vin Diesel, it can show his range to like where he kind of got typecast as the the action star, kind of thing.
Yeah, but meathead kind of, yeah.
Right, but the point being is that he has range. In reality, he has range.
Right.
He did do the voiceover for Groot, so he. I think this is perfectly in line with him. Anyway, it's just more of like, I guess.
Yeah, and he's he's a huge nerd too. So yeah, he was. I'm sure he was big into the sci-fi aspects of the Iron Giant.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
No, I was going to switch over to Brad Bird, but yeah, if you had something else you want to say about Van Diesel, you can. But yeah, Brad.
No, I think we're good. I just wanted to mention that because like we like to pride ourselves on trying to find things that like aside from the big recommendation that we're putting a big stamp on for Iron Giant, and we're going to get in these ancillary things that pop up here that remind you of why actors maybe get a little less credit than they should deserve. And I know a lot of people like, it's a star. Anyway, but. Anyway, I just wanted to belabor the point about Vin Diesel, but that's what we try to bring you here. But please lead us into Brad Bird, the director, creator. Yeah,
Brad Bird. Yeah, he's one of those guys that I keep hearing about, and one of my favorite animated movies is the Incredibles, which he did, and he did Incredibles 2 and Ratatouille. But yeah, to start out, he was when he was a very young. His parents took him to an animated movie, and he said, how can I make a movie like that? And so his dad was talking to him about how animation is made and whatnot. And he goes, yeah, I know that, but how can I do that? How can I start the process of doing that? So very early on, he was wanting to be an animator, and so he lucked out, and his parents knew some people that worked at Disney, and he actually got to go to Disney and talk to some of the animators, and he kind of turned around and he started working on his very first animated film when he was 12. And
Really?
he finished it. Yeah, he finished it at about 14, and they took him back to the animators, and they said, wow, this is this is something special. So they never had an intern before at Disney, so he was like one of the first interns, and he got on to Disney when he graduated from high school. He immediately got a job as an animator at Disney. The only bad thing was when he got on, that's when all the old guard of Disney animation were retiring and getting out of it. and they were kind of transitioning to sort of the I think that was during the 80s, to sort of like the cookie cutter by the numbers sort of stuff that Disney started pushing out at that time. And he wanted to do stuff that was, kind of on the edge and kind of pushing the envelope as far as animation. And he kept pushing them, and the the guys in charge were like, no, just get in line. And he's like, no, I really want to do something different. And
Right.
the dream that he thought he wanted, he kind of realized, no, this isn't going to happen. And they said, well, are you quitting? And he goes, yeah, I guess I am. And he goes, he was going to say, well, it's been fun, but he goes, well, it wasn't fun. So he goes, it's been, and the guy goes, a disappointment. And he goes, yeah, that's it. So yeah, he left Disney and kind of bounced around, and he wasn't sure that he was actually going to be able to do what he wanted to do. But he got jobs at The Simpsons, and he was one of the guys during the 90s on The Simpsons that was the creative consultant for 8 seasons, and he also did Family Dog, and I think he worked on I forget the other TV series that he worked on that was big, but yeah, so he kind of bounced. Yep, he kind of bounced around there, and but yeah, so he had a bunch of stuff under his belt. So and then Disney started making it big. Yeah, he was having trouble getting a animated movie made because they said, well, if you're not Disney, then the animated movie's not going to make any money. But then Disney started doing these big blockbusters like The Lion King and all of that, and so it made the other industry, the other companies like Warner Brothers go, wow, there's some gold to be mined in these animated movies. So they started pushing out these movies, and that's how he got the ball rolling with the Iron Giant, his first big animated movie that he got to spearhead. Yeah, and they
incredible journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's gone on to do like The Incredibles 1 and 2. Yeah, he's kind of a Ratatouille. He's kind of a legendary guy now. In retrospect, I have a deeper appreciation for him. And with the animation, I don't know a whole lot of how animation is done. It's sort of like music. Music, I don't know how it's done, but yeah, I have an appreciation to it. And whenever when I'm watching these documentaries on it where they talk about the process of animation, I always kind of learn something extra and realize how tough, what challenges they face with animation, because it all looks the same on the screen, but with the various things that you do on the screen with the animation, especially all this is pretty much done by hand except for the Iron Giant. The Iron Giant is CGI, the CGI animation. And they kind of had to, at the time with that animation, it was very, seamless. And they didn't want the Iron Giant to stand out as something different in the animation. Right. So they had to go through and figure out a process to make it to where the lines weren't quite so perfectly drawn on the Iron Giant, because the computer wants to draw it perfectly, so they had to kind of program it to have kind of missed lines in it and stuff to make it more to flow kind of perfectly with the other animation portions. And I think they did a pretty incredible job. You could tell while watching it that there's something a little bit different with the Iron Giant, but that kind of makes sense since he's kind of mechanical, that he's going to move a little bit differently than everybody else in the movie.
Well, it stays firmly in the realm of possibility, and what you're suspending disbelief to watch this thing. So it just goes to that to that sum total, to where you have this very organic yes, it's a robot or whatever, but you kind of see the, and also to of note too, um, some of the motion and the movement from the robot, like at first, is very wooden. I don't know how to describe it, but that's because he's with the kiddo, and he's learning. He's getting that reboot of this, and you have that on ramp into that, and according to this, it was made on a film. It was based on a 1968 novel, The Iron Man by Ted Hughes, which is cool.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about a little bit earlier.
Right.
That he was married to Sylvia Plath, and he kind of wrote it after she committed suicide, and it was a book for his children to kind of deal with the grief of her passing. And also, it was originally going to be, when it was at Warner Brothers, Ted Hughes was still alive, and they were trying to make it a musical with Pete Townsend. Did a musical opera about it called The Iron Man, like the novel. And so in another world, it would have been a musical with Pete Townsend's music in it. But the album's out there. I didn't realize it's one of his solo albums. So so if you want to kind of deepen your lore on Iron Giant, you really love Iron Giant, you might want to seek out the novel and maybe listen to Pete Townsend's album that's kind of based off of the book too. Brad Bird, when he was kind of offered various animated projects within Warner Brothers, one of them that he looked and kind of lashed upon was the Iron Giant, but he had to kind of convince the studio's execs and Pete Townsend and Ted Hughes that kind of throw away their idea of it being a musical and make it what he kind of saw it as a kind of a movie about telling a gun that it doesn't have to be a gun, telling a weapon that it doesn't have to be a weapon, to inspire to be something more, to go beyond itself, and like you said, it's a very touching story about a boy that doesn't quite fit in, that's trying to find his way, and it's also about a giant robot that doesn't quite fit in, that's trying to find his way.
Well, and you touched on it earlier. Not only do you see like all the other characters are traditionally animated. It's the Iron Giant that's CGI. So not only you have the underlying story elements separating this gun from what it could be, this machine that it reboots to essentially become a little boy. That's my opinion. That's my layering on top of it. But also when you see him on the scale of the movie as it draws you in, and very good animation quality all around. Period. It also kind of pops and kind of sets it apart from the other characters of it makes it even more. It makes it even more land even with a bigger splash. In my opinion, I just want to kind of touch on that. But we were going through. We were kind of cutting through. The innocence of what you can be and what you can't be, what you're told to do. Because you definitely have the undercurrent, like with some of these characters, which we haven't even broken into. But you have the other characters where you have the agent guy, essentially like a dirtbag. That guy, trying to find a lever, a wedge, to implicate his mom and his family. Basically just be a general dick to get what he wants. And there's a lot of manipulation there.
Yeah, the federal agent. Yeah, he's starts off sort of like this bumbling officer. That Kent guy. Formed wonderfully by Christopher McLeod did this amazing voice job for him. But he's kind of a bumbling guy to start with that you can laugh at. But as the movie goes on, he becomes very, very dark, and that's one of the darker aspects of the movie that kind of surprised me towards the end. Is like, man, this guy's maniacal. They do it kind of well, like at one point he drugs the kid, and puts the thing to knock
Oh
him
yeah,
out,
horrible,
and
horrible.
yeah,
Yeah.
so just, yeah, yeah, and they kind of build to that kind of naturally, where you're like, oh yeah, that guy would do that to the kid, but it
Well,
doesn't make it too creepy, but
well, he essentially plays the alter ego of prejudice and not understanding and order. I mean, well, a lot of things rolled into one.
yeah.
Like
Yeah, and it kind of, they said it perfectly at the end of the 50s with Sputnik, because Sputnik is one of the things that they talk about in the movie. There's like that Red Scare and the paranoia
right.
of of bombs dropping randomly, which we were under that spell well within the
Oh yeah.
80s. We still had that fear of nuclear holocaust.
Well, you still had
But
bomb
yeah, this
shelters
is.
and real world,
Mhm.
kind of duck and cover kids or whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah, so this is where it's all started, and yeah, so that paranoia is kind of weighing on people, and he's sort of like, yeah, part of that kind of the embodiment of it, maybe the darker aspect of, say, a Mulder from X-Files. He's sort of the darker equivalent of this rogue agent.
No, he is. He is. Yeah, he plays it wonderfully well. And you see this character progression, and how things are coming together, and the story unfolds. I was trying to think. What were some of the big high points for you, from beginning to end for this film that really grabbed you, if I could?
Oh, one of them is, there's a scene where at the very beginning, the Iron Giant's almost like a lost puppy with the kid.
Oh right.
He's kind of imitating him and following him. And Hogarth's got to say, "No, you got to stay." And there's a wonderful scene with a train. He starts eating the tracks, and Hogarth's like, "No, no, no, you can't do that. The train's coming." And yeah, and I love his little precision. It kind of shows you that even though he's acting like a puppy, he does have this mentality of the smart mentality of actually trying to OCD of getting the tracks just perfect. And in most movies, you would narrowly miss the train. That you wouldn't have a kind of train pile up there, but yeah, they actually have even though they get it fixed, he's too dumb to realize to get out of the way, and it still causes the train crash. Another kind of a side note to it is, the two engineers that come out are voiced by two older guards of the Disney animators. I forget their name, but they're voiced and drawn like them. So if you're into Disney animation, you might want to check that out to see if you can recognize them. But yeah, do you have a favorite part in the movie?
I really, it's hard to say. When they first meet, I think is one that comes to mind. And that in kind of the first few moments that they kind of have moments together where it's I don't know, it's the unknown, and then you have this kiddo who doesn't really know what to be scared of, and for a 9-year-old it fits very closely. But that probably that, and then of course, well, I don't want to get into it too much, but the probably the first few scenes, like where they have interaction, are my favorite, at least the first couple. And then toward the very end, I like how things kind of settle up without being spoilery.
Uh-huh.
How about you? As the movie progressed toward the end, did you find anything? Or I'll pause there and I'll let you kind of catch or hop on in. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to sway you one way or another.
No, I like the fact that they very much had a clear focus on color and lighting in the movie. Everything kind of starts off kind of bright and lively with the fall colors and being very colorful, and then as things get darker and towards the end, it kind of starts washing out, and it turns to winter with the snow and kind of the dead of winter kind of look with the storm clouds and whatnot. I like how that kind of goes through. They're very conscious of a lot of the lighting in the very beginning of the movie when they have the storm. There's that dramatic lighting. Also, when at night when Hogarth is first seeing the giant, and then when his mom shows up, it's a lot of cool stuff done with the lighting, and also like when she sees him, the headlights of the car kind of washing over them with all the dark around them. It looks really, really nice. You could tell that they had a very clear focus on making it look as good as possible, and which is incredible because they were running on a tight schedule. Normally it takes about 5 years to make an animated movie back then because it's all hand drawn. And they only had 2.5 years, which still sounds like a long time, but is like cutting normal time into half, and you're trying to do a full-length movie as well. I think at the same time that they were making this, Disney was making Tarzan, and they were done with their movie well before Tarzan was done. So yeah, and obviously, this movie's probably has a bigger impact than Tarzan does these days, but that may be my bias.
No, I think that's a fair. It did. I think it did well enough. I actually don't know. On my notes.
No, it was actually it was the Iron Giant was a flop. The crazy thing is, they kind of go over it in the documentary. They were very excited about the movie, and so was Warner Brothers, because it tested extremely well. And while they were making it, they had Warner Brothers had come out with Quest for Camelot, which they had big hopes for too, and it flopped. So they were kind of eyeing towards the kind of shuttering of Warner Brothers Animation. Since they were kind of lost their focus on animation, with the tail end of Iron Giant, they really got to do whatever they wanted to without hardly much pushback from Warner Brothers. So they were able to do the movie the way they wanted to, and then they started test screening it, and people were very excited, reviewing it very well. So they thought they had a hit on their hands. In their kind of rap party, they show footage from it, and everybody's very excited, very happy. And then when Warner Brothers kind of misstepped on advertising, they showed one of the advertising commercials for it, and they had like this heavy metal kind of sounding music, rock music playing, and see, new heavy metal friend, Iron Giant. Right. totally at odds with the theme. The theme of the movie. They go, well, maybe word of mouth might be good, and so Brad Bird, he talks about going out to see the premiere of the movie in his local theater, and the diner that was across the street from the theater was supposed to have this big ad for Iron Giant on it. That wasn't there. He goes into the big multiplex, and the big multiplex has all these huge posters of the movies for each of the theaters, and then on the theater for the Iron Giant, they had a piece of paper with the Iron Giant on it. It's like, oh wow. And so he goes up to see the movie, and they do have this big display of the Iron Giant, but it's right by the exit, and his leg's broken off already. So it's like, this doesn't bode well for the movie. And so it didn't do very well. I think Warner Brothers kind of fumbled with the advertising, and back in the day there wasn't that groundswell of that you could get with people talking about it online.
Right, not as quick or fast as today. Right.
And a lot of times you have these build-ups for these movies, and as soon as it was done, 4 months later, it was out in the theater. And Brad Bird kind of pushed it to get out there because if he felt if they didn't push it out there, it might get shelved or something, which I think also kind of was a detriment to it, because they didn't have that steamroll engine of say with the toys and the merchandising, all of that, that they could have maybe have kind of put out there to kind of push the movie as well. That was probably something that they kind of missed out on. And so, yeah. But of course, over the years, which, the people out there watching us that has kind of grown up with the Iron Giant and kind of has a warm spot in their heart, maybe they can let us know in the comments how it kind of how they were able to find the movie, whether it was on DVD or VHS back in the day. And because evidently, yeah, it's kind of got that cult status that kind of built up over it. And I think one of the big things about Ready Player One was the fact that the Iron Giant shows up in it as kind of a character in it.
Well, you had an endless a buffet of nostalgia with that movie, which at some point I'm sure we'll get around to seeing too. Definitely have my opinions on that one. And of course, it's based on a book, which some would say that would be better, but depending upon you and your situation and where you come in, no matter what, this is a classic. I remember I never saw it when it came out, but I do remember. I remember seeing it and hearing about it. I just never I just never really got into. Pretty much from the time animation was over for me, sometime in around 99, I shipped off to basic training. So 98, 99, that was the last time that I would hear or see anything, and mainly Disney, occasionally this or that. Of course, with my kiddos now, it's not necessarily Disney, it's more Pixar, or I mean, not Pixar, but Illumination, excuse me, the Minions and whatnot. They grew up with that, so. But no, I can see where this would. I don't know that I necessarily would have stopped and watched this back then. I don't think that I would have been. I would have not absorbed it at all. But having said that, the benefit of 25 years later, we have this wonderful thing, and we really don't want to spoil the show or the movie if you do see it. So we're not really going to dive into. But basically, you have this clash where the agent keeps going about and trying to muck about, and then you have the junkyard. He
wants to prove the giant is real.
right.
Because
right. Well, that and the kiddo and has allies, and it's not a wild goose chase, but it certainly lends itself to the adventure of the movie that you're invited to. I don't want to spoil too much. I'll let you take it from there.
Another cute scene that kind of stands out, that Brad Bird, he makes a point to actually animate at least one scene in each of his movies, and the scene that he animates is the scene where Hogarth gets hopped up on an espresso and he's talking really fast. he animated that scene, which is kind of a cute scene. One of the things I wanted to mention is the design of the Iron Giant. One of the things that they had trouble nailing down was the look of the Iron Giant, and one of the people they had to take a crack at it that actually kind of nailed it down was Joe Johnston, which is a big famous visual director who did a lot of the visual stuff for Star Wars. He kind of helped them kind of get that look of the Iron Giant down with the head and the kind of the white eyes, and it really is a testament that simplicity oftentimes is the best route to go, because if you get too busy with the face and whatnot, you can kind of lose in the details. And to make it kind of this very simple design with the eyes, and then the eyes, the pupils being white, and then the lids kind of doing the emotions, and then the jaw. Right. A lot of times the jaw would get unhinged and kind of shake around, and would kind of make make the expressions, but it's very very simple, very effective, along with Vin Diesel's kind of simplistic performance.
Less
Like I
is
said,
more,
it was
right?
a lot of times, yeah, a lot of times when we say simple or simplicity, it's kind of a downgrade or a drag on it, but it actually, in this case, it's kind of
No, no,
elevates
it's
it to make it makes it more than it is.
it,
Because yeah, like I said, you could make things a little too busy, and you lose it in it.
yeah. I was gonna say this is actually we were talking about Vin Diesel's talent. This was his first animated movie too. So
Yeah.
he took up quite a bit, but it works very flawlessly. I say more often than not, and then really there's really nothing to complain about in this. It just kind of didn't quite. It just came out, didn't quite have. It just didn't quite capture what it needed to capture to do what it did, but it did grow into its own giant of a classic
Yeah.
for sure.
Yep.
And it has all the elements that work very very well. Yeah, like it's funny because you kind of have a second nostalgia, a second wind of it, even if you never grew up with
Hmm.
it per se. Like, which is quite a bit of we'll watch an '80s movie, right? And which we are known to do
Hmm.
for ratings, so to speak. And you, even though I didn't watch it in the '80s, you can still kind of connect with it on that level. Whereas,
Hmm.
granted, this was in '99, but still, you can the essential aspects of it work very well together. And I love the coloring. You mentioned it before, but I love the play with. They're not afraid. It's not all one side or it's not all just dark. Like it's a
Hmm.
criticism of modern movies, which is like they're just so
Hmm.
damn dark. Actually, a
Hmm.
lot of the new Disney Star Wars suffers from that, and some of the HBO stuff too that we have crossover that we talk
Hmm.
about, but it's too dark. But they're not afraid to use color
Hmm.
when they do it. When they show the world building all the way out to the tanks, the military, that kind of thing. This has all the things that make a young man or a boy, kind of perk up and pay attention. I haven't played it for my kiddos yet, but I will be very curious to play this for them
Hmm.
and see what their reaction is. That would be the interesting thing. But that's just kind of the one unique thing that I don't have to add to this week's show, which would be I didn't get a chance to watch it with the kiddos. But I definitely do, and I'd be very curious to see what their take is of the
Hmm.
show or of the movie. Excuse me. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think we're kind of coming up to the end. We covered quite a bit, and God knows there's like loads more.
Hmm.
But I was gonna say I had a note here.
That's
Uh,
interesting. It premiered. World premiere was July 11th, 1999. So we're kind of we watched it just a
yeah,
few days after
it
the
it
25th anniversary.
it did at the main theater in Los Angeles, but then it actually came out wide release on August 6th. I think is what they were is what I saw in my notes. But so
Gotcha.
yeah, we're like, well, originally we were going to do this last week, but we hit the
Yep.
pause button. But still, it's a great movie to rotate back to in August. If
Hmm.
you want to,
Hmm.
a little bit something lighter, and innocent, and it just kind of holds your hand and takes you on this journey. That is,
Hmm.
I could actually see like where a 20 or 30-year-old person would absolutely have this in their treasure trove of what they grew up with.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a animation classic. It's a sci-fi classic. I know a lot of my sci-fi. I know Mike's more into sci-fi than I am, but I know some sci-fi writers like Harlan Ellison spoke very highly of this movie. That's
I
one
can
of
see why.
the guys that I listen to, and kind of put it in the back of my mind that maybe I should check this movie out if he's keen on it. But yeah, that's it's one of those that was thanks to the show that we do. It's forcing me to kind of go to those things that I kept saying in back of my mind. Yeah, one day I'll watch this. I got the Blu-ray. Yeah, one day I'll pull it out and watch it, and then yeah, now's the time. Now's the time. I think one of the things that kind of happened with us with the start of the show. I think it all kind of was inspired by, oddly enough, COVID, in the fact that it kind of forced us to kind of think inwardly and think of the
Right.
things that we want to do that we've always had kind of in the back of our mind. It's like, well, there's no time like the present, and so we've been kind of going through and doing those things. Like with Dune, I've always wanted to read that book, and
Same.
the show kind of inspired by the movie that we watched of Dune inspired us to read Dune and just kind of do all those things that we kind of always wanted to kind of explore within the media. And I really appreciate and enjoy the kind of exploration. Like I've got a very much deeper appreciation to this movie than I never thought I would get just by watching it and kind of going through all the extras and kind of listening to Brad Bird's story. I have a deeper appreciation for him and his work. But yeah, so hopefully this show can inspire you guys out there to maybe we give you a little taste of things. And, if we talk about a movie that you really liked, like The Iron Giant, I really tell you to, because, I just kind of touched the tip of the iceberg of the little cool facts that I learned about this. So yeah, go out there and get this physical media and kind of delve into all the extras. And sometimes the commentaries are very dry and not very entertaining, and some of them I even kind of skip out
Oh,
on. But this one was quite engaging. It's Brad Bird and a couple of the other people that worked on the film, kind of having a conversation about the movie, and they're very entertaining to listen to. So yeah, there's my pitch for physical media there for today.
well, you
Inner
you
channel.
well, you just can't get it. You go download it off of Apple TV or whatever. You're not going to get. Not unless you know to look
Hmm.
for it. And that's assuming that it even exists. And 9 times out of 10, well, 10 times out of 10, doesn't it just doesn't. But there we
Hmm.
go with a very big recommendation from Tom and me to go see it, go check it out. And with that, I think we're coming up on the caboose. I think it's a tremendous opportunity for everyone to, no matter what your age. It really does kind of put you in a you do kind of have to you get a little bit more soft-hearted, lighthearted with the movie, because that's the hallmark of a good film,
Hmm. Yeah.
especially if it's
Yeah.
kid. There's enough there for kiddos, which Pixar does so well. When they hit on and fire on all cylinders, there's enough there for the kiddos, obviously, but there's plenty of material there for a grown up to, not just a dad joke or something dumb, uh, excuse me, to pay attention to, that keeps you in. And this has that, but extra special too with the sci-fi and
Hmm.
all the things that go in. But we are coming
Hmm.
up on the end, and I just wanted to plug our show again, or plug our channel, the First Last Nerdom on YouTube. You can find us
Hmm.
every week or so. We do this thing where we cover, we try to find something, and I think we have plenty of enough on the docket that we haven't even touched. We haven't even really touched our really like memory bank kind of stuff. We've
Yeah.
been very sparse on it, and I'm glad we've done that. But as we do this, we get more comfortable with going into like an obvious win for, at least personally, for this. But
Hmm.
big strong recommend. You can also, as I mentioned before, Tom heads up our socials over on Reddit, FirstLastNerdom, over on Twitter, or X, excuse me, at McAllister
Hmm.
underscore T. Of course, you can find me always on ApeIt.Ink, my publication of record, where I cover the harder, not harder, but like just heavier opinion kind of things. Some lighthearted, some history, some a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Also, you can find me on X as well, ApeIt underscore Ink. And I think we're coming up to the caboose. So with that, I'll put us in talk mode here. and I'll say, I really, really like this from that. I've been kind of going through a little bit of talking offline. I told you I've been watching a lot of talk show kind of things that grew up with, late night type. It's just very cool when you can bring up something from like '99 and watch it. But that's it. All kind of goes into the thing of entertainment, the basket. With that, and I think I'm about ready to play us out. Do you have anything you want to add or plug or say or?
Yeah, yeah. Like you, I enjoyed the Iron Giant. It's not my typical fare. I usually like to watch maybe something a little kind of out there, a little edgy. Even with the animation, I always kind of go for something a little bit. But this kind of harkens back to anybody's childhood. When I was watching it, I had a lot of the same feelings I had when I originally watched E.T. That story is very similar to this one, and it's sort of I can see where this movie could have been someone else's E.T. E.T. was E.T. for me, but yeah, it's kind of has that kind of lighthearted innocence to it that just gotta it immediately kind of touches like you,
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, mm-hmm. It has to definitely have that feels to you. Very Spielbergian, as they would say. But yeah,
very well. Yeah, it does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then like you, I've been kind of watching various things on YouTube. I was telling you earlier, got into like a 2-hour video on Minecraft mystery that was around for 14 years. This guy found a strange house that was built into his Minecraft server that he did not build and no one else could have built. How did that happen? And was that fake? Was it not? It was a crazy video, but very entertaining. And then I also watched another one where the guy, kind of maybe an obsessive guy, he kind of does weird things with video games. And then the one I watched was in GTA 4. He looked at all the power lines and said, does that connect to anything? So he goes through all of GTA 4 and kind of traces all of the power lines and goes to like the power plant and different things on GTA 4, which is very entertaining. He also has done that with the waterways, the rivers in like Skyrim and then some of the Zelda games. See if they actually flow properly.
Right on. Well, I've been Mike.
And I'm Tom.
We'll see you next week.
See you.
Fantasy and sci-fi trance.